feet knees together, airborne. What we're gonna do is go ahead and then put metal dye on the heads, and then I'm gonna show you how we flatten it, deck it. It's pretty close to being flat now. I think we're like 2 thou out, which is pretty close, but you know, let's go for perfect. And the only way you can tell if you have it perfect is we're gonna go ahead and stain the metal and use a flat piece of metal that I had trued down to 2/10. Yes, it's down to 2/10 of flatness. So we're going to take this, flatten it, or deck it, and see what we come up with. So this is our metal stain, and we're just going to.
Who makes this?
I don't know. Who cares? I'm not being sponsored by them.
Oh.
So we're going to go ahead and do this whole deck, this whole head with this metal stain, and after we get it all done, we'll show you what we have. So we went ahead and stained this head. We're going to go ahead and use 60 grit, and what we're trying to do is go back and forth, not trying to insult your intelligence, until all the red is gone. All the red that's left is going to be low spots, and we're going to try to, the first thing that comes off is the high spots until it's completely bare metal. We're going to do 60 grit and then step it down to 100, then 220, and then do 1,000 grit just to make it nice and soft.
Yeah, I do want to point out that it's important when you're using the flat block like this, make sure there's no padding underneath it, that it's perfectly flat. Otherwise, any padding that's on it, like a sanding block, will conform to the irregularities, and we don't want that.
Yeah, I work for an aerospace company, and we have some really cool shit. And one of the things we're able to do is take a steel plate and mill it down to 2/10 of flatness, which is really good. I wanted a larger piece, but this is all that they're willing to give me. So we're going to see what we get.
And we're curling up the edges here so it doesn't get caught in the cavities.
All right.
Do it like that, like you did before.
No.
All right.
And as you can see, it's already starting to take the red off. It looks pretty good already. So I don't keep you waiting here and have you guys keep watching me dance. Come back in about 10 minutes or whenever this is flat, and I'll show you what we got. We're done. All the metal stain is off. There's some metal stain, you know, a little bit here on the rough edges and stuff like that, but everything else is done. So what we're going to do now is we're going to measure the flatness to actually see. Let me pick that up. Just to see how flat we are. Again, I had this done at work to 2/10 flatness. So if you'd like to come over here, we're going to go ahead and use a 2 thou feeler gauge.
And spec, by the way,
and see what we have. All right.
So we'll do the front, we'll do the back, and then we'll do it diagonally.
Okay.
And then put that.
Slide it across the metal surface. Okay,
right.
So we got a flat head.
Okay, I'm going to go ahead and put all this on all the intakes. So we're going to do the intakes first. Already got it on all the other ones. And this is the one we already cut.
So what we're doing now is we're going to go on the intake manifold and we're going to cut the seal, the seat. What I noticed before when we had them, the seats looked horrendous. We're going to take it to the machine shop, and my buddy at the machine shop said he can do it, you know, I don't know, 400 bucks for both heads. But he had an 8-week timeline and I didn't want to wait for him. So my grandfather showed me this trick way back when with the set of cutters that you can actually set the seat, and we tried them on these two just to see what we can get, and they came out beautiful. It's a 45-degree cutter on both intake and exhaust, and we're going to go ahead and show you what we did. We put the metal die on here just to see if it's going to cut straight, and on this particular one we had a really fat line on one side, a really thin line on the other, but just, you know, very little pressure, just going back and forth, and eventually it came out uniform. And we'll go ahead and test these also so you can see that we're not blowing smoke up your butt, that it actually seats.
Yeah.
All right.
Let me add something here real quick. I do want to indicate what we had to do for this. For this particular set we got, it didn't actually have the right valve guide that matched the stem that matched the valve guides. So what we had to do, we had to have a machine shop take one of our old valves, cut the end off of it, and thread it so we could use it with the tool, so we could use it for this particular head job. So that's what we had to do, a little bit of custom modification to the tool to do this, but other than that, it's a standard set. So that was pretty cool.
Yeah, if you're interested in getting a set of these, if you think that it's worth it, you can get them on eBay. The only thing is they come from India and you gotta wait about 6 weeks to get them. So I started ordering them now. All right, so go ahead and we put the cutter into the valve guide, center it up, and just very lightly. You don't have to take a lot of pressure, just the same, just let the weight of the tool do the work. And all we're doing is we're seeing how lopsided this hole is, if it is. If we have a thin line, a thick line, where it actually
makes contact. Yeah, where the cutters make contact.
Very little pressure, none, I should say.
All right, let's see what we got.
All right, so now we're going to see what we have. All right, so as you can see, we have a thicker line here than we do over here. This is over here, we're not even touching. So we're gonna keep going until we get a uniformed cut line.
Yeah. So we're actually slightly egg-shaped. Is that right? Egg-shaped?
Like your head. If it starts to bite like that, it means you're not putting uniform pressure on it. All right, let's see what we have. All right, as you see, we're getting fatter over here, starting to cut over here. It's starting to get there.
Yeah. Now it's also important to know, go ahead John, go ahead. It's also important to note that you do this by hand. Do not under any circumstances put a power tool on this and spin this any faster than what you see here. Because in a heartbeat, you'll cut way too deep through that valve seat and you'll ruin your head, and you'll have to put inserts in your valve seats to fix the head. So this is a hand tool operation only.
Yeah, these heads came off of the 427, and the 427 was sitting in the guy's backyard for 40 years. I'm sorry. Yeah, he had it sitting in his backyard for 20 years. sold it to his neighbor, and his neighbor had it sitting in his garage for another 20 years. So
20.25.
so this whole engine needed some help. All right, let's see what we
Give
got.
it some love. Oh yeah, that looks a lot better.
So we're still getting fat over here, thin over here. Eventually this will stay the same, and then we'll start cutting over here.
Looking better.
All right, as you can see, we're starting to fatten out over here. This is about as max as we want to go.
Now, if you get down to where we're showing, where John is showing you here, and you still have pitting and stuff in these valve seats, then by all means, you're going to need a trip to the machine shop. If at this point you still have any pits left in your valve seat.
I believe this was the. This was 3. This was 1, 3, 5. 3 and 5 was the worst.
But this intake is looking a lot better than when we started.
All right. Just do it one more time, very lightly. Like I said, what we're trying to do is just keep the hole symmetrical. All right. So let's do a test.
What happens if your valve falls through?
Machine shop time. And then we're gonna go ahead and do the exhaust, and we'll show you how to do that. Yeah, we had to buy 2 separate valves because the other ones were so pitted, so bad, so ate up, that we had to get these valves, which are different than these 2 valves, which are different than the other ones, because as you can see, this is we want to keep everything numbers matching, so we had to get the original valves, and this came off a used engine, this valve right here. So we cleaned up this valve, got it ready to be lapped, and that's what we're about to do now.
You know, on the racing engines or whatever, they use like a titanium, a very lightweight valve, so you can have a lot higher RPM.
Hear the difference in pitch. All right.
That was done.
Go ahead and clean this one off. And then I'll show you what we're looking for. You can tell when you got a good lap valve
Don't know if
is,
you can see this very well on your video, but good luck.
so you can see where you have black on either tip, and then you have the gray in the middle. The gray in the middle means it was lapped all the way around, and that's what you're shooting for. You want this to be centered. As you can see, we're a little off, but that'll still seal. And it came out pretty good for a 60-year-old valve. What we're going to be doing is putting together this head. This head is off of a 427 1966 Corvette engine. So we're trying to keep it as original as possible, trying to keep it built the same way that it was off the factory, because this will be judged by NCRS judging, and we're trying to use as much as the original equipment as possible. So one of the original equipment that we do have is the shims that go in here first. So the shims go in like that. The seats go in next. And as you can see, the shims got numbers on them. Now, true, the NCRS judges aren't going to tear apart this engine to see what's inside of it, but I know what's inside of it, and I want to keep it as original as possible. So let me go get the springs and the valves. Okay, so we have the valves. Everything's already been machined and lapped and sealed, so all we're doing is disassembling it. So we're going to go ahead and put some lube on the valves stem. Whoop, I'm sorry, I forgot one important thing. I forgot to put the seal in there. A little bit of lube on there. Next one. There we go. And the exhaust valve. So how you can tell you're building a big block versus any other thing, you notice that the angles that the valves are in. So the springs do have a top and bottom, and the way you can tell if you got them in the right orientation is, see how this keeper hat won't fit on? You flip it around. See how it fits on? See how this one doesn't fit on? See how it does? All right. Another thing about a big block engine is you have bolts that go into the water jacket. What the heck? So I put a yellow dot. I put a yellow dot, the ones that are going into the water jacket, and so they'll take a special coating, which is right here. This is what we use for everything, all the bolts that go into our water jacket. Been using it for years, works great, never had a problem. And I mean every bolt, the head bolts, water pump bolts, all the bolts get this if it goes into the water jacket. Next screw, we already had this with pre-assembly lube on it. Now I'm sure there's a torque. I don't know what it is. I think it's somewhere around click right there. And click right there. So we have this special depression tool that we have for big block engines. We'll go ahead and screw this down. And then what we're trying to do, we center it right there. We get the handle, which is right here. And then my cameraman slash helper will hold that there. Okay, never mind, just was helper. Go ahead. Okay, we have the keepers, which look like this. And then we use lithium grease as a glue on the keeper, and this helps it hold it to the valve stem. So if you look at these keepers, you'll see that they're angled fat end, thin end, fat side up into the groove, fat side up into the groove. Now if you notice, you'll see that the keeper holder is going to contact with the keeper. So what I normally do is I take a screwdriver and I just kind of pry it over, and then the helper slowly lifts up the valve until it gets past there, and then we're good. And then we'll take this off. And then normally what we do is we get a big sledgehammer, just kidding, we get a rubber mallet and we make sure that it's seated, which is good to go. And then we do the next one until we're all done. Okay, so now we have the cylinder head all assembled completely right where we want it. So what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and test it. What we use is a very expensive, very hard to get fluid, which is brake cleaner. And we go ahead, and if you look at this exhaust valve, you'll see that the valve is completely seated. We use brake cleaner, and then we fill up all the way up to the ledge, just like that. And then we go to the next one. And the next one. What we're going to do now is we're going to go ahead and see if it leaks under the intake and the exhaust valves. And as you can see, completely bone dry.